Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to What's in Your Cup. I am Coach Ebony Lachelle, and I have the
I got my
wonderful.
cup. I
You
brought my
got your
cup.
cup? I started to get me a cup, but I put on no water.
Got
What's
my
up?
cup. I'm ready. Let's
I have
go.
my bougie cup next time. Listen, we got the Dr. Chantrise Sims Holliman
My God.
on to be my very first guest. I'm so excited. Um, so yes. Now I went and Googled you.
What's funny about that is that when my mother is feeling feisty with people,
Uh-huh.
she'll tell them, she'll look and be like, just go Google her and walk away. That's her thing.
Look, yeah, and
That's her thing.
because I would do that too. I'd be like, oh, my sis, you know, Google her. You want me to put it in there for you? Let me put it in there for you real quick. But yeah, thank you for coming on. I'm so excited.
Thank you for asking me. I'm honored.
So listen, writer, speaker,
Mm-hmm.
educator,
Mm-hmm.
heart attack survivor. I learned
Mm-hmm.
something new today. Bilateral amputee, a wife,
Mm-hmm.
mother, sister, friend, and most importantly, a child of God.
That would be yes. All of
Uh,
those things. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I want to start off with you being an educator.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Happy Teacher Appreciation Week to all my
you know what? Yes, happy to,
because
because y'all be
God
needing that.
bless
They
y'all.
don't pay y'all enough. They don't
Because
pay.
God bless y'all. Because yeah.
And shameless plug because I am a nurse. Happy Nurses Week too.
Happy Nurses Week. And I forgot about that. And I shouldn't have forgotten about that because when I tell you I love me some nurses, when I was in
Yeah.
the hospital, my nurses, well, that we'll get to that, but my nurses were all of everything. So yes, happy Nurses Appreciation Week to you and all of the nurses. Yes.
Yeah. So, did you always want to be an educator?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. And in fact, anybody who knows me knows that educator, teacher was the absolute last thing I wanted to be. So both of my parents were former educators.
Mm-hmm.
Um, before they had me, but they would tell me the stories of what it was like being an educator in the hood in Cleveland, Ohio, which is where they live. And so growing up, I was like, yeah, no, I don't. And teachers don't make any money. No, that's not. But what's funny is that my parents would always remind me that as a child, they would come into my room and I would be teaching my stuffed animals. Like I'd have all the stuffed animals lined up and they'd be learning their ABCs and their one, two, threes. I used to play school with my parents when I was little. They were my students, but I never teaching was the last thing that I wanted to do, which is really funny because I've been running for since I was 2. Like I don't, this ain't what I want to do. But when I was in a really low period in my life, and my father said, "Well, why don't you go become a teacher?" I said, "Because I don't want to." He said, "Well, you need a job." I was like, "That's
That's fair.
so I literally applied to a Master's of Education program at Georgia State. The application was due on a Friday at 5 p.m. I literally slid it under the door at
Oh,
like 4:59. So this is back in 2004 before they had online applications. Like I literally like snuck it, hoping they weren't gonna see it. A week later, I got an interview, and I remember saying to myself, "Well, dang it!" And my friend at the time said, "What's wrong?" I said, "They gave me an interview." They're like, "What's wrong with that?" I
because I
said,
want it.
"I'm gonna get in. I don't. I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna get in."
Oh,
I did the interview. I got in. Did my master's degree in a year, like literally from August to July to July.
mm-hmm.
Went into my first classroom and fell completely in love. Like fell completely in love because see, my goal. See, Susan Taylor, the former editor in chief of Essence magazine,
Mm-hmm.
has been my role model for like my entire life. So I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and so I didn't have a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really see a lot of people that looked like me. So my mom made sure that we had, you had the coffee table, we had the Essence, we had the Ebony, we had the Jet, we had whatever. And so Essence was like my connection to Black culture because I lived in a white neighborhood. In my head, I was going to be Susan Taylor. I wanted to be the next editor in chief of
Yes.
Essence magazine. That was like my goal. And I literally said, I'm only going to teach until I can figure out how to get um, into journalism. Like I'm just going to do this in the meantime. And 17 years,
Wait.
17 years. And I taught at the same school.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and I loved it. Like when I say that I loved it, I loved it. And that was like the first time that God was just sitting there just going,
Ha ha ha.
uh-huh. You
Yeah.
said what now? What I couldn't hear
Keep
you
it
say
right
it one
in.
more. Yeah, so and that's really when I learned that my one of my spiritual gifts is teaching. It's something that just came natural to me. I went to school, I learned all the things and got all the books and all of that. But after my first year, my department chair made me team lead over the ninth grade.
Mm-hmm.
I remember looking at her like, "You sure you want to do that?" And she's like, "Yeah." And to this day, I credit her. And I said, all the things that I did in education, all the accolades, all the children's lives I touched, all of that was because she saw something in me when I didn't see it in myself.
Oh.
And I just ran with it. So, yeah. So I'm a teacher, even though I'm not in education right now.
Uh-huh. You'll always be
I'm
somebody's
I'm, I'm a teacher.
teacher. And when you really love something, you may not be per se in that professional space, but you teach people every day. It's an ongoing learning process.
Listen, when I tell you I've been trying to run, I told you I've been running from teaching since I was 2. And when I left education, I was like, okay, I'm good. No, no. Like in the past year, one of my good girlfriends is the Christian ed director in the state of, and she's like, I need you
Uh-huh.
to create these videos for me once a week, like you used to do your Monday moments. I need you to do that and do that for the 6th Episcopal District Christian Education. And I was just like, no,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
no longer an educator. She's like, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, I'm gonna volunteer you to do it.
Yeah. Because
So I started doing that. And once again, I can hear God just going, mm-hmm,
yeah.
ha ha.
You be
So
trying to tell God what you ain't gonna do, huh? How that's working out for you.
it ain't. It ain't. So
It's not
I'm
working
in it
out.
now. I'm in it now. I'm here. I'm in it now.
Oh my goodness. So going from the educator moment, is that how you became an author?
Actually, so here's the funny thing is that, and I forget this, and it takes my best friend to remind me. Yes, my very first book that I don't ever talk about was a book called Teach, Stay, Love.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a journal with kind of prompts and stories about my experience in education for teachers. This was back in 2015, where I could already see the writing on the wall
Mm-hmm.
with teachers. And I was just like, okay. And at that time, I wasn't burnt out yet. Right. And
Yeah.
so I wrote this book to help teachers because I am the firm believer in that um, good teachers are made, but great teachers are born. Right.
Okay.
And so I knew a lot of great teachers who were just like, I'm done. Now, mind you, this is in 2015. Kids nowadays, it's a whole different set of,
Yes,
yeah.
it's a dip day.
So
Oh,
in 2015, I wrote the book for them, for those of us that still loved teaching and didn't. I wanted to remind them of why you got into this profession in the first place. Like you can tell the teachers who are teachers and they weren't just there because they needed something to do. They weren't just there because they couldn't find any place else to work. We were losing phenomenal teachers. So that was my very first book. I didn't write a book again until after I was in recovery from my heart attack and my amputations and my paralysis. And when I tell you I didn't want to write this book,
But God said He didn't kill him.
but God, once again, you feeling me? Once again, God was just like, I mean, you don't have to write it, but you do.
Yeah,
And
like
yeah, and I literally remember sitting on my sofa, um, and just now we talk about like you hear God.
uh-huh,
It's one of the few times that I'm convinced, and I know too much about him. You can't make me doubt him. That
uh-huh.
I heard audibly write the book, and I remember thinking, "What makes I don't want to? I don't want to. That I don't want to. I don't want to."
Oh, look, oh.
And then, but then I heard very clearly there are people's lives who are hanging in the balance,
Hmm.
waiting for you to do what I told you to do. And I was like, well, you ain't got to.
Like you, if why you talking so loud, God?
Yeah, yes, Lord. And so I wrote the book. And, or I will say God wrote the book. I was just the vessel because I literally would not start writing until it was past midnight. Like for whatever reason, I could not write during the day.
Mm-hmm.
I could only write between the hours of midnight and 4 a.m. And I would literally open up my laptop and put my fingers to the keyboard and it would just come out. And then at like 4 o'clock, it was like he turned the faucet off, go to sleep. I wrote that book, and I know you probably not gonna believe this. I wrote that book in 30 days.
I
Like
I can't believe that. I do.
it was unreal. And when I got done, like when I got done with like the last period,
Mm-hmm.
I went back and read it and was like, God, you do some
Okay,
good work.
got me
I
doing
did good right here. You did good. Yeah,
good work.
he do good work. So, so yeah, so education. I used to write short stories and stuff when I was little,
Mm-hmm.
but my first book came as a result of being an educator, and then my next two books came after while I was in recovery.
Yeah. Okay. So Noah had an ark. You need a raft.
Yes.
Resilience and flexible thinking.
Hmm.
What prompted? What part of recovery prompted that?
The Lord. See, the Lord was very busy in 2019 because I wrote both books in 2019. One was published in 2019. One was published in 2020. Um, and what prompted the second book was um, so I had my heart attack. I had all those things happen to me in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
By January of 2019, I was tired of sitting at the house. I was tired of being depressed. I was just tired. I was like, okay, let me go get my life back because I was channeling my inner Mary, go get your blessings. I was singing the song, everything. um, and I was on social media because God told me I had to heal in public.
Okay.
So in 2019 is when you really started seeing me just whatever was going on that day is going to be on social media. I started sharing my journey. I started sharing pictures of me, my body, like getting used to just like, I'm missing limbs here, whatever. And people would meet me, people who did not know me,
Mm-hmm.
made the assumption that I had been disabled my whole life because of the way I presented myself and the way I showed up on social media. And so I was just like, oh no, this happened last year. And like, people have that deer in headlights look like,
Mm-hmm.
wait, what you mean? This how are you so happy? How are you? And I was like, Jesus. But um, yeah. And then I finally sat down. I said, okay, God, well, I know I got you, but people keep asking me how I'm doing this. What do I tell them? And once again, divine download. And God walked me through these 7 principles
Mm-hmm.
that um, I had, or these 7 actions that I had done in order to get myself back. One of them happens to be flexible thinking, and so flexible thinking is a concept of being able to look at a problem in multiple ways. So
Mm-hmm.
you're flexible in your thinking, you're flexible in how you approach a problem. And when you become an amputee and you become partially paralyzed and you use a wheelchair at 45, you can't do the same things that you used to do the same way. So you had better be creative. What's interesting, because God is just has a sense of humor, is flexible thinking is what I used to teach my kids. That's how I taught my students,
Mm-hmm.
that I need you to be critical thinkers. I need you to look at this problem. I need you to give me, 15 different right answers. And I taught them, I said, what's the right answer to a question? And they would give me an answer. I thought, okay, gonna give me another right answer. And they were like, wait, how is there more than one? And I would tell them, and I said, here's my philosophy. I said, a right answer is anything that makes sense and you can prove. It may not be someone else's
Okay.
answer, but if you can justify, because I'm an English teacher. And so
Mm-hmm.
In English class, when you're writing, you have to state your claim and then support it with evidence. So if you can do that in writing, why can't you do that with everything else?
There
And so,
you go.
yeah. And so um, I wrote the book because Shoes Without Feet was the what happened to me, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Noah Had an Ark is the how I got from point A to point B. And these are the strategies, these are the tools, these are the principles that I developed. And so yeah, so they're like bookends. If you
Okay.
want to know what happened to me, read this book. If you want to know how I'm living my best life, read this book. So yeah.
I do distinctly, going back to when you say you had to heal in public, I do distinctly remember after we had connected, um, you posted a picture one day of you doing laundry.
Hmm. Wow, you remember that? Okay,
Yes,
yes. Hmm.
yes, I do. And I don't. I remember something to the captions like, having to readjust and having to relearn things.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I said, because I want to think because I try to make it a habit of when someone has a transparent moment
Hmm.
to go under there and be like, you know what, thank you for your transparency, because people don't heal
Right.
in public.
Right.
They, all of these things happen, um, and we kind of bury everything, and then it takes the healing so much longer to happen when we don't kind of be transparent. So
Right. Right.
I
Right.
do
Right.
remember. I remember that. I even remember what you had on. You had on black. You had on the black shirt and some black
Yes,
pants.
I did.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
good. You are good. Yeah.
Because I really thought to myself, considering how fresh things were,
Hmm.
how strong you had to be to say, you know what, this is what's going on with me. This is how I'm dealing, and this is how I'm healing and pushing through that. So I was like, I was like, my God, she is where it's at.
Once again,
Just because I also thought to myself, what type of relationship that you had to have with God.
listen. So let's talk about that right quick, because the fact that God and I are back tight is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because what people may or may not tell you is that when you go through this type of trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
At this point in your life, I'm 45. This is, I just turned 50, so I was 45. Life was good, everything was great. God and I were not on speaking terms, because it was okay. I had a heart attack. Okay, Lord, all right. I'm still in the hospital. Why am I still here? And I remember, I am AME. I remember
Yes,
coming
look,
out
yes,
of
you are.
coming out of my coma, because I was in a coma for a week, and
Mm-hmm.
my husband was by my bedside. And I remember kind of, you know, acknowledging, okay, I'm in the hospital or whatever. And the first words out of my mouth were, and I didn't realize I had been in a coma for a week. The first words out of my mouth were, "It's fourth Sunday tomorrow." tomorrow. And the baby's got to, it's YPD Sunday. So the baby's we got to get to church. And my husband was just like, no,
No.
you're going to have to stay in the hospital for a little while. I was like, oh, okay. What I thought was going to be a very simple recovery
Mm-hmm.
turned out not to be. And all of these things started happening to me. And when they first talked about amputating my right leg, I was like, okay, but we're just gonna pray. Because grandmama taught me that you pray, you pray the scriptures. We had all the prayer warriors and we were praying and praying. And I had my first amputation. I was like,
That's
okay,
good.
all right, Lord, okay. And then I had my second amputation. And then I realized I was partially paralyzed from the waist down. And we had done all this praying, and God was not speaking. God was completely silent.
Mm.
And so, of course, you go through all of those. Okay, God, what did I do? Clearly,
Right.
this is punishment for something. Clearly, I messed up. All right. But my grandmama said, if I do this, all the things that grandmama and them taught me to do
Uh-huh.
weren't working.
Okay.
And so, after about the 45th day in the hospital, I was just like, okay, well, God's not real. God's not real, and everything is a lie. And so there. And the chaplain would come in. It's funny because the chaplain um, is also AME. She
Mm-hmm.
went to ITC with my husband. She would come in and try to pray, and I was just like, you might want to back out the room. You might want to just not come in here because there ain't nothing that you can say that's gonna make me listen to God, trust God. I'm definitely not praying because I did all that, and it nothing happened. And it took me going to rehab where another chaplain said, have you told God um, that you're angry? And I was like, God knows I'm angry. She's like, yeah, I know. Tell him anyway.
Okay.
And she left the room. I balled up my fists and I was just like, and I can't, and I hate you. And I did all the
Yeah.
things.
Uh-huh.
And then I was just like, oh. And God was like, okay. But you're still not going to fix this, right? Okay. Thanks, God. It was not until I got home and my my surrogate mother, she was actually the assistant principal that hired me back in 2005. Mama Dot, she just has been in my life that long. She was the only person I would allow to come see me. And she came and she sat in my chair and she said, well, I want you to know that I'm mad at God too. I was like, yeah, me and you, mad at God, yeah. And she said, but God wanted me to give you a scripture. She said, and after I give it to you, you can put me out if you want to. And I was like, okay, what's the scripture? Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper and not harm you, to give you a future with hope. I told her to get out of my house.
Yeah, but that with hope sit real heavy.
Yeah, but I was just like, but see, I couldn't get to the hope part because I was still stuck on the I know the plans I have.
Going to
I
happen
said, this is part of your plan for
because
my life? Oh
you said I
no.
don't see the plan. I don't
Mm-mm,
see the plan.
mm-mm, mm-mm. But I laid on the sofa and I said very quietly, and I said, okay, God, if this is part of your plan for my life, you're gonna have to prove it to me.
Mm.
And once again, God laughed.
Yeah,
And
because
once again, God laughed. I was like, okay, bet I got you. Yeah. Um, so yeah, so that scripture is really what helped me reconnect to God and to my faith and to get back to trusting and believing and standing on his word because without that, I was like, nope, I'm gonna go become an atheist, which I really wasn't because grandmama and them had put all the things in me and it wasn't gonna happen. But at the time, I was like, okay,
yeah, I mean, you had a right to be mad. I think we forget that it's okay to be mad. We can
right.
we can be mad. It's what we do with that afterwards
Hmm.
that makes the difference.
Well, and also I think for a lot of us, and I don't know about you, but I was raised that you don't question God. Who are you to be angry with God? Like who are you? And so I had to get past that hurdle of it's okay to ask God why. Jesus asked God why.
He sure did, and that's I did have to get past that because I'm a PK over here
Uh-huh.
in the ninth, and so we've had like my parents experienced the death of a child,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so we and I think during that time I think, wow, my dad had been preaching and pastoring 2 years at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so coming up with that, yeah, I did get but that was something I had to unteach. I had to
Yeah.
unlearn,
Yeah.
because it was if 'cause I rationalize it with myself. If God is my father, I ask my earthly daddy questions. I can't ask him questions.
Right.
I can't do
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it took me honestly. I was probably about 35 when I came to the realization that yes, I can be angry and it's okay.
And it's okay because
It's
God can handle
okay.
it.
He
Because
can.
God can handle it. And it released a lot of pressure off of me because I was holding all that in. And when that chaplain said, "Well, you need to tell God how you feel," oh, I can do that. She's just like, "Girl, yeah." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I think that is where that was the beginning of my reconnection. That was my beginning of okay, God, I'm gonna trust you. I don't like you right now.
But I'm a
I don't understand any of this. But then I look at what has happened in my life in these 5 years,
hmm
and I'm just like,
but he
I
might have known what he
mean,
was talking about a little
I guess you knew what you were doing. I mean, I guess, but
about
yeah.
rich. Let's that brings me to my next question. What is a resiliency coach?
Okay, so I've actually changed it from coach because I don't necessarily think that I'm a coach. But what I do is, as a result of sort of everything that I've been through,
Mm-hmm.
um, well, let me preface this by saying also that I'm a proud Gen Xer. So I'm born in 1972, and the reason why I want to sort of make that clear is because I come from a generation where we were told that we could have it all. Right. We were told that we could. There was a commercial, a perfume that came out in the 80s called Angelique, and they had a whole song. And it was, I can bring home the bacon, I can fry it up in the pan,
Yes.
I can never let you forget that you're a man because
Like,
I'm a woman. So we grew up with the we can do it all, we can have it all until we got to be in our 40s and realized that somebody lied to us. You know, the whole fib. And I realized that there's this whole generation of women who reached a certain point in their life where they realize that life is lifing and this ain't the life that I wanted. And so what I do is I work with women to help them develop their to get their resiliency back. Now, let me also say this. I know for Black women, the word resilience is a four-letter word. And it
yeah.
took me some time to understand that because as Black women, we are told, we take a licking and keep on ticking.
Mm-hmm.
Like we get knocked down, we get up again, we fall down, we get up. Hey, John McClurkin, we do all those things, um, and it's exhausting. Like I
Yes.
don't want to be
Yes.
resilient anymore. And so I was in one of my seminary classes, and one of my professors was talking about um, Native American people or something, and she said that she had read somewhere that in this culture resilience means thriving in life. And I said, oh, wait, hold on,
Wait a minute.
hold on.
Oh, that sat heavy with me.
And then a couple of, and so I started you sort of working with that and say, okay, I'm going to reframe this resilience thing from the ability to get knocked down and get back up again
Mhm.
to thriving in life. And if you think about what it means to thrive in life, in order for you to live your best life, regardless of what happens to you, regardless of what life throws at you, that's resilience. And then I came across a word a couple of months ago that I was just like, Lord, there was a word for this already. It's called eudaimonia. And it's a word that comes from Aristotle, and it means um, being in a position of thriving in life. It's living your best life. I was like, well, how about that? So now instead of trying to teach women, how to get back up after, setbacks and all of those things, um, it is let me teach you these principles so that you can um, learn how to thrive in life again. Just because things didn't turn out the way that you wanted, just because you thought it was going to be A and it turned out to be X, you can still thrive in life. There are principles that you can do to make sure that you are living your best life. So that's my job, is to encourage women through these 7 principles that God gave me that helped me. And I use myself as the exemplar. I said, y'all, this was me in 2018. This is me now. I didn't get from there to here because I gave up, because I just decided that I was, woe is me. Now, were there bad days? Absolutely. I still have bad days.
Mm-hmm.
But my job is to help women get past those hurdles and embrace life again.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Now, I don't know what you're gonna call yourself besides a coach and an educator.
Well, I
Because
like the word strategist. I'm
oh,
trying to learn
okay.
strategist,
Oh,
because we're going to develop some
resiliency
strategies.
strategist.
We can develop some strategies to get you back
Please.
where, or even better, to get you back where you once were, or better yet, to get you someplace different.
Okay, yeah.
Because
Because
maybe where you were isn't
when
where
you
you want to be. So if I at 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50 can move from, and I will say this, and I mean this very, very honestly, that even being disabled now, the life that I am living now, in a lot of ways, is better than the life I used to live.
mm, okay.
I don't take things for granted anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My gratitude is like on an all-time high, because um, when you're comfortable, when you're comfortable, when everything is going your way, when life is good and all the pieces are falling into place, that's when we forget, right? We forget how we got there. Um, we forget who got us there. And so on this side of, my illness, there are so many things, so many more things that I am conscious of. There are so many more things um, that I'm willing to do. Like, fear is still a factor, but it's not like it used to be. Like, when I posted the video or the pictures of me doing my laundry, it is literally because I was just like, I was sitting in my wheelchair looking, because the laundry room is upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Literally sitting in my wheelchair looking at the stairs and just going, I wonder if I can go up these stairs. And I and I grabbed the laundry bag and I hauled myself, because I wanted to see if I could do it. And I was like, oh, I can do this. So a lot of things, yeah, I do a lot of things now that I, all the lessons that I taught my students are coming back to bite me in the behind. And my former, and my former students take great joy in reminding me
I
of
bet they do.
these things. But remember when you used to tell us to just do it scared? Well, yeah, Miss Holly, or Holly Pop, that's my nickname. That's what they call it. Holly Pop, you just need to do it scared. And I was like,
I
because
didn't
y'all were
ask
listening.
y'all.
I
Yeah, I
didn't
ain't
ask
ask
y'all, but y'all were
y'all.
listening, huh? Okay then. So
Hard. They was listening hard.
they are, yeah.
So, as we get ready to close, tell me 3 things that you put in your daily cup to keep you going.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. Number one, I start off every day in doing my devotionals like every day. And the lovely Bible app. I actually have a girlfriend of mine who's I taught her daughter, and she started like tagging me in posts, just like, "Hey, I'm gonna read this devotional. Why don't you join me?" And now it's been going on like I know it's got to be at least 3 years.
That's a
So like every week, I mean every week, and like and it's funny because sometimes I look at my Bible app and I'll have like 3 or 4 devotionals going at the same time. I'm like, y'all, I can't do no more devote. I can't. But it's amazing because we finished one. So
and you roll right over to the next one.
so now I'm down to 3. I got 3 that I'm doing every day, and we finished one. And she's like, okay, here's the next one. I'm like, okay. But I realized that I can't start my day. Like I don't read an email. I don't get on Facebook, Instagram. I don't check my text messages until after I have done my devotional. That's number 1. Number 2, I have to pray. Like it's become a habit. I
Mm-hmm.
wake up, like my eyes pop open. I'm like, good morning, Lord. Go to do my devotional. Now, in the process, I may, go brush my teeth, wash my face, or whatever. But I don't go to work. I don't do anything until I do my devotional and I pray. The third thing that I do daily is I take a nap.
Okay.
Because one of the reasons why I had my heart attack, and it wasn't because I wasn't healthy, it wasn't because I had clogged arteries or anything. I live with lupus. And when you have lupus, there are certain things that you are supposed to do and certain things you are not supposed to do. I was the type A personality. I was the one that went to work sick. I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. I never took a day off. Like I did all of those things. And that over time did damage, which is why I had the heart attack. I had one clogged artery. That was it. My doctor was just like your heart is perfectly healthy. And he said the reason why you survived is because you were so healthy. I used to run 5 miles every morning. I was drinking all the kale juice and all the water and all of that stuff. But the damage had already been done. Like I was trying to fix something that I had already damaged.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned that self-care is essential for me. I have to take a nap. And if I don't take a nap every day, then I just, shut it down. I sit on the sofa for like 30 minutes and just breathe. Listen to my Calm app on my phone. Um, just so that I can just reconnect with how I'm feeling physically because I don't always feel well. So yeah, so devotional, prayer, nap. Oh, I'm gonna give you a fourth one. I got a therapist. Can we thank God for a therapist? Can we thank God? Because when I tell you my therapist is amazing, she's amazing. Oh, she's amazing. And what's funny about it is that she is currently AME. She wasn't AME, but her kids messed around and found their way over to Big Bethel AME church and got involved in the YPD. So now she in this season, she is now AME. She's like, well, I guess I'm
Oh,
yes, come on in. Come on in the room. But she has really helped me identify um those things um that I've been dealing with my whole life and helping me to sort those things out. So devotional prayer, sleep, and a therapist.
therapists are extremely important. Yeah, I have become a major advocate of mental health
Mm-hmm.
over the last 5 to 6 years. And
Yeah.
I tell people it is really okay to love God and have a therapist and take some medicine if you need
Help.
to.
Listen, it's okay to have Jesus and a therapist. And where the
Therapist,
problem is that we got a whole lot of Jesus,
Jesus, but not enough therapy.
but not enough therapy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you so much for taking
You're
time
so
out of your
welcome.
day to be my first guest on What's in Your Cup. Y'all heard her. She do devotions, prayer, naps, and she got a therapist. Y'all
Therapist.
get you one. And if you decide you want a resiliency strategist, head on over to drchantrise.com.
That's me. That's me.
That's her. Sign up for them courses. I think she got about 3. She got you can get them books off of there, and she got mugs and t-shirts and cups and
Oh,
everything.
you, oh, you, oh, you, oh, you
And
went
the
in for
drink.
real.
Oh
Oh,
yes,
you,
I went in and did my homework. I
but I
really
will also say this: if you don't want to go to my website, I do have a Facebook group. It is called the Resilience Reset. with Dr. Chantrise. If you just type in resilience reset, it'll pop up. Um, and in there, and it's a group of only women. There's about 810 of us in the group where we focus on and we work on some of these strategies. And I post a video and we have challenges. I'm getting ready to actually open up my calendar, which is huge for me because I don't ever do this. On the first week in June, I'm getting ready to open up my coaching calendar. And I'm going to actually be working with um, between 8 and 10 women for 7 weeks. So we are going to dig into some of these principles. We are going to be accountable to each other. And I'm super excited about that. And so now that seminary is over for the semester, I can focus on putting that out. So I'm super excited about that.
Okay. We are excited about that. Yes. It she don't have but like 7 slots because I'm gonna be in one of them.
Well, amen. And there it is.
Indeed it is. So thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.